let's set the scene. It's 1989, and you're listening to your Walkman. Kylie Minogue, Madonna, and Michael Jackson are dominating the charts. You stroll past a shop window and something catches your eye. The most captivating artwork you have ever seen. For the first time, you encounter Space Marines, Orcs, and Eldar, and from that moment on, everything changes, and you're hooked.
Hello and welcome to Broadsword Wargaming. My name is Oliver, and in this video, I'm going back 35 years in time and will be painting Warhammer like it's 1989.
This isn't just any paint set, it's a cherished relic from the golden age of Warhammer. A true classic. Now fortunately, I was able to find copies that had all of the paints in a usable condition. There are even a few sealed ones too. We've got all sorts of great colours, including Snakebite Leather, Bad Moon Yellow, and Striking Scorpion Green. I've used the 1994 paint set, so I'm keen to see how these ones compare to those and to their modern day equivalents. I'll be unboxing this vintage gem and using it to breathe life into 3 classic models. We'll be painting a Rogue Trader Space Marine, an Eldar Striking Scorpion, and a 40k Orc. Iconic characters that have shaped the Warhammer universe for decades. For reference, to really nail the schemes, I'm going to be taking inspiration from the Space Marine painting guide, found in one of the paint sets, and from the 2nd edition codexes. I know they're a few years after this paint set, but the style is very much the same. They're honestly some of the most wonderful models with so much character and charm. I'm going to aim to use every paint here, so let's see what happens.
Alright, the models are prepped and everything is ready to go. In front of me I've got all of the paints from these 2 paint sets, bar one I think was missing. But I did see that 4 of them had been unopened previously. So I'm going to take a look at one now and make sure it's still working. So this is something I'm probably never going to get to do again in my life, and that is peel open some 35-year-old paints, almost as old as I am. And it pops off there. We'll lift this up. Look at that juicy stuff. Go faster, red. It smells old and painty, and that's what we like. So we'll crack these open. I'll try and show you as many of them as I can and paint a couple of different models, and from there, we're good to go.
First up, we are going to paint the Space Marine. Let's make it a Blood Angel so I can follow along to the guide in the paint set. Undercoat the model in white, as was the way at the time, and base the red parts using terracotta. Already we are off to a winner. The coverage is wonderful and it is an absolutely beautiful colour, one I would genuinely use today. With a bit of water to thin it down, we get a really smooth finish. I don't know what the modern equivalent would be, somewhere between Mephiston and Corn Red maybe. I did try not to paint any sections that were not going to be red, as I wasn't sure of the coverage of the other paints coming later. Next is blocking out the rest of the colours. The guide said to use Chaos Black, but neither of these sets comes with that, so I used Salamander Black. Thinned down, you do get the contrast effect as it leaves the raised areas slightly lighter than the recessed ones. I went a little off course with the guide and decided to paint the pouches with Snakebite Leather. It's a classic paint, but unfortunately it just does not cover well. Several coats later I do get a passable finish, but not a recommend. As opposed to using golds, I'm going to paint the symbols with Bad Moon Yellow. I did expect the coverage to be terrible and, well, I was right, it is, so I made sure to clean up the white areas underneath first. It's actually a really vibrant and bright colour. Lovely, so long as you don't intend to paint it over anything else. I used a splash of salamander green for the lenses, just so I had an excuse to crack the paint pot open, and with that all of the base colours are applied to the model. It's actually surprisingly easy and comfortable to paint this model, and I was pleasantly surprised with how fun it really was to do. We will come back to the highlights a little later on, but now a quick word from this video's sponsor.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
And channel sponsors. Thank you so much to the Dragon Workshop for sponsoring this video. Let's take a look and see what they get up to.
The Dragon Workshop specialises in crafting stunning, high-quality props and costumes using EVA foam. Whether you're into historical reenactments or cosplaying your favourite movie and game characters, they have something for you. Each piece is handmade with meticulous care and attention to detail. I now own a Mark X Space Marine helmet, custom designed to my specifications. It fits perfectly, is incredibly comfortable, and is a piece I will cherish for a long time.
Yes, they sent me this awesome custom helmet with the Broadsword Brethren chapter symbol, the colour scheme, everything else. It's really, really cool. If that's something that interests you, make sure to click the link in the description below and check them out.
The time of the Orc is upon us. I started by basing the skin with the aptly named Orc Flesh. Thinned down, the coverage is great, and to be honest, I probably prefer this to the current Orc Flesh contrast paint. It's a more natural colour, if you know what I mean. I'd be tempted to use this paint in the future, maybe for some retro orcs? I decided to give snakebite leather another go, this time over a much larger portion of a model. Unfortunately, it does still take a few coats, but it does look significantly better over the textured part of this model as opposed to the flat pouch of the Marine. In an attempt to get a dark grey, I applied a really thinned down salamander black to the trousers. This actually worked exactly how I wanted it to, which just shows how versatile some of these older paints really are. I used bolt gun metal on any metallic parts, and yes, it was still as awesome as I remember. Although not the best colour choice for the model, I wanted an excuse to try more paints. I applied marine dark blue to the shoulder pad, and wow, was this smooth. A beautiful colour that would make for an excellent Crimson Fist base tone. Finally, let's put some paint on the Eldar. It makes sense to cover the model in Striking Scorpion green. Thinned down ever so slightly, it does cover well and does have the contrast paint effect as well. It's bright, it's vibrant, and it is bang on for the style of the time. Bad Moon Yellow was applied to the weapons, helmet, and eventually the leg stripes. This is how I first painted my Striking Scorpions back in 1992, so I had to recreate the scheme from here and I just love it. I filled in a few other base colours and we are done. With that, all three models have their base colours down and we're looking pretty good. I was really happy with the Eldar model, but I knew I had a lot of work to do on the Marine. Glazing highlights was a technique at the time and one I haven't practiced much over the years. It should be fun, probably, trying to give it a go again. I won't walk you through every brushstroke as the focus here is on experimenting with the paints. For highlighting the Marine, I followed the guide and used Blood Angel Orange, which is a really vibrant orange, and gradually mixed in some Sunburst Yellow. It was a truly lengthy process, but incredibly enjoyable to watch the model transform from terracotta to the iconic Blood Angel colours. For the blacks, I highlighted with blue grey and worked up the Space Wolf grey. On the bolt gun metal, I applied tin bits for a rich metallic effect. The yellows were a blend of yellow and bone, and the blue shoulder pads were brought to life with marine blue and ultramarine blue highlights. The final step is to base the models. Goblin green bases are iconic, so I did dip into my 1994 paint set for this classic colour. Nothing screams retro Warhammer more than goblin green bases. To finish them up, I used fast dry basing glue and then a blend of light green flocks. And there you have it, 3 models painted up using paints from 1989. I'm thrilled with how the Striking Scorpion turned out and might even replicate this scheme for my 2nd edition Eldar army I have in the backlog. The Blood Angel looks cool, but the process is relatively lengthy, and if I'm honest, I'd push the highlights even further if I did paint it again. As for the Orc, I'm not completely satisfied with the colour choices, but I wanted to test as many paints as possible. There are some absolutely awesome paints in this set, and a couple that aren't quite so good. I don't know if you've used these previously. If you have, I hope this took you down a slightly nostalgic memory lane wander. If not, stay tuned now and I'll run through what I thought was good and what I thought was bad about these paints.
They fall into 2 categories really. You have either the base paints, the paints that cover well and that you kind of use to base cut all your models, and then you have the highlight paints. All of the base paints were great. The coverage was good, they kept up with the modern paints and actually were really, really nice to use. Any of the highlights were really thin. The coverage was pretty bad, but I think that's kind of more to do with the time and the way people painted back then. They're kind of all almost glazes. The oranges, the yellows, any of the lighter colours. I guess that's down to like pigment. I'm not a paint master, I don't know, but yellow generally covers badly, right, on things. But glazing was kind of the way back then, and I think that's probably part of that. Do I recommend them? Absolutely, they're super fun. I think for me the top ones, terracotta, the dark blue was really, really nice. The bone was actually pretty fun. The yellow's a lovely colour, although covered terribly. Some of the paints I wasn't so keen on that I was a little disappointed. Snakebite leather, tin bits. Tin bits is basically just water now, whether or not that's because the paints are quite old now or not, I'm not sure. But hopefully you learned a thing or two from this one and you like the end result. If you did, please make sure to like, share, subscribe and hit the alarm bell below. Check out the link in the description to the wonderful sponsor for the video, and also down there the link to Patreon if you want to see more content. If you haven't already seen the video, I did do the 1994 paint set. I painted the 2nd edition 40k starter set. I've done a few nostalgia ones, so if that's your kind of thing, jump down and check those as well. Other than that, I'll leave it to it. Thanks so much, take care, and I will catch you in the next one.